Dear students, I hope you all will be fine. I'm here, Muhammad Jamal Khan, lecturer in botany, University of Education, Lahore. Today, we will discuss a topic that is related to one of the core subject of botany, that is plant systematic, anatomy and development. The course code of this subject is BOTN 1112. Our today's lecture is basically comprises of two parts. In first part, we discuss a family that is Ranunculales, and in second part, we discuss a family that is Brassicaceae. So here we have the content of this lecture. Initially, in the first part, we discussed the introduction of Ranunculales family. Then we have a tutorial, and this tutorial give detail about the diversity and the distribution of Ranunculales family. In addition to this tutorial also explains the taxonomy and floral characteristics of this family. In the end, the tutorial reveals the economic importance of this family. In the second part of this lecture, we have a family that is Brassicaceae. Initially, we discuss the introduction of this family. Then we have a tutorial that explains the taxonomy, morphological characteristics, floral characteristics, distribution, and economic importance of this family, along with the floral diagram and floral formula. And in the end, we have the references. So we start from part 1, that is related to a family, Ranunculales. The name of this family is derived from a Latin word that is Ranunculus. It means a little frog. It is also very well known as a buttercup family. This family comprising about more than 2400 species in 62 genera, and most of the members of this family are herbs. This family is widely distributed in all temperate and subtropical regions, and in some cases some of its members also occur at high elevation in tropics. So one can say that this is a cosmopolitan family. Mostly located in temperate region, as most species grow in wet environment. One of the considerable point of this family is that this is the first diverging group of true dicots. This species family includes many popular wildflower as well as ornamental. For example, buttercup. Dear students, for your illustration related to this Ranunculales family, I added here a tutorial that is of University of Kashmir, Srinagar. I hope this tutorial elaborate the taxonomy, distribution, floral characteristics, economic importance of this family. So here we have the tutorial.
That is, it is diversity. Members of this family, they show a worldwide distribution. Ranunculales family members are growing all over the world. But they are especially characteristic. Their main centers of diversity are in the temperate and boreal regions of the northern hemisphere of the world. The family is represented by about 60 genera. With about these 60 genera, they have about 2,500 species. That means reasonably a species-rich family. Some of the species-rich genera in this family are, starting with the type genus that is Ranunculus, it has round about 400 species. Then coming to the Aconitum, Clematis and Delphinium, each of these three, they have round about 250 species. Then the Anemone, it's also a species-rich genera having 150 species. Now, coming to the fifth part of the lecture, that is economic importance of the family Ranunculaceae. The members of the Ranunculaceae family, they are used widely, be that ornamentals, be that medicinal plants, or for vegetables. Many Ranunculaceae family genera, they are used as medicinal plants because of their alkaloids and glycosides. Some are also poisonous, highly poisonous plants. And many members of the Ranunculaceae, they are obnoxious weeds. We know some of the commonly grown ornamentals in this family are larkspur, scientifically known as Delphinium, columbine, scientifically known as Aquilegia, or the buttercup, common buttercup, what is scientifically known as Ranunculus. Or we have the hellebore or Helleborus. We have few more plants under the family Ranunculaceae which are being cultivated as ornamentals, like windflower. Its scientific name is Anemone. We have also bandberry with the scientific name Actea. Or we have the Clematis, a climber, a woody climber. Its common name is Virginus bower. Or we have a flower-like called as globe flower. Its scientific name is Trollis. Or we have a beautiful flower of meadow rue, scientifically known as Thalictrum. Or medicinally important plant Aconitum, it is also sometimes used as an ornamental, commonly known as monk's hood. As I mentioned that many of the species of Aconitum, they are used as medicinal. One of the species by the name of Aconitum napellus, it yields a phytochemical by the name of aconite. One more species of Aconitum by the name of Aconitum ferox is a source of big poison. These Ranunculaceae genera, they are used for many medicinal purposes. Like the roots of Hydrastis, they are used for stomach ailments. One more use of Ranunculaceae is that in the case of species Nigella steva, its seeds are used as a spice. We commercially know this spice as kalonji. Dear students, with this we come to the end of this today's topic, that is taxonomy and diversity of Ranunculaceae. See you with another topic. Till then, goodbye. Ranunculaceae is commonly known as crowfoot family because the leaves of Ranunculus are similar to the foot of crow, or sometimes it is also known as buttercup family because the corolla in Ranunculus looks like a buttercup. The Ranunculaceae as a family was first established by a French botanist de Jussieu in 1789 in his book Genera Plantarum. The family Ranunculaceae is distinct in having following characters, mostly in its flower. Number first, it has spirally arranged perianth parts. That is, sepals and petals are spirally arranged. Number second distinct character is that it has numerous stamens. And the third one is that it is having an apocarpus gynoecium. So we are going to start the description of this family Ranunculaceae, starting from its habit. It is mostly annual or perennial in its life cycle, and usually these are herbaceous. But some of the members in Ranunculaceae, they are woody climbers, as is true for a genus called as Clematis. Or sometimes it can be a shrub, as is the Xanthorrhiza. Coming to the second part, that is root. It's a taproot system which is always branched, or sometimes it can be tuberous as well. Then the third part, that is the stem, it is aerial, erect and smooth surfaced. Its stem is scattered, or it has having several rings of vascular bundles. Hairs on the stem, they are simple. Now the leaves are both colline as well as ramal. They are usually arranged in an alternate fashion with a spiral arrangement. But there is an exception in clematis where the leaves are opposite. This ranunculaceae is unique in having no stipules. That means it is called as exstipulate. The leaves here are petiolate. That means they have a stalk. All the leaves in ranunculaceae, they have a stalk. The leaves here are usually simple, most often simple, but it is compound in one genus called as clematis. Now the leaf lamina, or sometimes we call it as leaf blade, it is undivided in Caltha, but most often it is divided, or it is lobed. In the case of type genus Ranunculus, it is palmately lobed. Each lobe is ovate in its shape. The margins are here entire, and the apex, that is the tip, it is obtuse and mostly glabrous. That is, it is having no hairs. Coming to its flower part, that is inflorescence. Inflorescence is basically an aggregation of flowers. Usually we have here a dichasial cyme, but in some cases it is solitary also, as is true for anemone. Or it can be raceme also in case of delphinium. Now coming to the actual flower, individual flower. Flowers here are bracteate, bracteolate and pedicellate. Pedicellate means that all the flowers, they have a stalk. The flowers here are mostly bisexual. That means both male and female parts are born on the same flower. But there is an exception in case of Thalictrum where it is unisexual. That means you have separate male and female flowers. Usually the flower here is actinomorphic. That means at whatever plan you try to cut it, it separates into two equal halves. But here again, here is an exception in case of Delphinium where it is zygomorphic. The flower here is pentamerous. That means all the flower parts, they are in 5 or multiples of 5. The flower here is also hypogynous. That means the ovary here is superior. Now, coming to the individual flower parts, starting from the outer whorl, what we call as calyx. Calyx is comprised of the sepals here. The sepals are 5 in number. They are polysepalous, that means free, they are not fused. They are slightly petaloid, that means their color is more like a petal. Sometimes these sepals, they are modified into a sepal at base. At the base of each petal sepal, there is a modification what we call as sepal. This sepal is 1 in number in Delphinium, but all the sepals in Aquilegia, they are sepaled. That means 5 in case of Aquilegia. Now coming to the second part, that is corolla. Corolla we know is comprised of the petalous colored organelles. Petals here are again 5. As I mentioned that flowers here are pentamerous, petals are 5. There is one exception, that is Helleborus, where they are indefinite. Many petals are present. Again, as was the case in case of sepals, it was polysepalous. Here again, it is polypetalous. All the petals, they are free. They are not fused to each other. One important feature about Ranunculaceae is that here the nectaries, they are at the base of petals. These petals are just like stem node-like petals. Now coming to the reproductive part, starting with androecium. Androecium is the male part in the flower. It is comprised of the stamens. Stamens are here indefinite. That means numerous in number. They are apostemonous, polyandrous, again free, poly means free, spirally arranged. Spiral arrangement, as I mentioned at the outset, that they have a spiral arrangement of their flower parts. This is very unique to the Ranunculaceae. The stamens, androecium, it is also comprised of stamens. Then you have filaments. Filaments here are too long. Anthers here at the top of the stamens, they are diathecous, extrose, and the dehiscence here is longitudinal. Coming to the female part of the flower, that is gynoecium, it is polycarpellary. That means three carpels here. Apocarpus, and at the base of the gynoecium you have the ovary, that is superior. It is unilocular, and its style is just one, and stigma is simple one and one in number. Coming to its placentation, it is mostly basal, or it can be marginal sometimes, or rarely it can be axile. Axile is placentation in case of Ranunculaceae in the genus what we call as Nigella. Coming to the actual part, ultimately the fruit. Fruit, usually here it is achene, as is the case in the type genus that is Ranunculus. In some cases, it is also having a follicle type of fruit, as we have in case of Delphinium. Or it can be berry in case of Actea, or rarely it can be a capsule. For example, in case of Nigella. Seed, inside the fruit we have seeds. Seed is here with a small embryo, and endosperm is present here. Coming to the pollination system, because we have here a wide range of flower structures in the case of Ranunculaceae flowers, that's why it is associated with a diverse array of pollination syndromes. Most of the species in the case of Ranunculaceae, they are insect pollinated. That means their pollination is brought about by insects. Although there are some species like Thalictrum which are wind pollinated, that means their pollination is anemophily. There are two more genus, one is Clematis and another is Anemone, which do not produce nectar. That's why they are pollinated by pollen gathering insects. That means these insects, they are not feeding on nectar, but they feed on pollen, and in that chance they pollinate the flowers of Clematis and Anemone. In the case of Ranunculus, Delphinium, or you have the case of Aquilegia, you have here the modified nectar secreting petals. Those petals which secrete nectar. These petals, they are sometimes spurred. The flowers in the case of these genera like Ranunculus, Delphinium and Aquilegia, they are visited by nectar gathering insects, not pollen gathering insects, as was the case in the case of previous Anemone. Mainly the insects that pollinate these flowers are bees or sometimes hummingbirds. In the case of Caltha, there are nectar glands at the base of the carpels. Carpels are the female part of the flower. And here also the flowers are bee pollinated. A typical co-evolutionary relationship is shown by a flower called as European globe flower. The flower is exclusively pollinated by the flies of genus Casiophyta, which enter the spherical flowers to mate and feed on the pollen and nectar. The females then lay their eggs, usually one egg per flower, and the larvae, they feed on the developing seeds. After pollination, let us now discuss the fruit dispersal in Ranunculaceae. Dispersal mechanisms in Ranunculaceae, they vary widely. The achenes, that the fruits of Clematis, they have persistent, long and hairy styles. These hairy styles aid the flower fruit in its wind dispersal. That means fruits are here dispersed by wind. In the case of type genus Ranunculus, achenes have some modified features, what we call as tubercles, or sometimes hooked spines. Because of these spines, they get attached to the animals, and by this mechanism, they are dispersed by the animals. Fruits in the case of Actea, they are berries. They are mainly dispersed by birds. That means birds are here the dispersal agents. In the case of follicular species, those species wherein we have the fruit as follicle, therein the seeds are too small and they may get dispersed by wind or water. And some, for example, Helleborus, they are secondarily dispersed by ants. Now, after discussing,
Now we discuss the floral diagram and floral formula of Ranunculaceae family. So here we have the floral diagram and floral formula of this family. For your illustration, I use a pen that indicated by a red color. Okay, so here you see this here and here, these are the bracts. So it means the flower possess bracts, and these bracts are small leaf-like structures. Here and here, these indicate that the flower are present in the form of group. So this indicates the main axis, and flower are present on this main axis. After this, we discuss the first word, that is sepals. So here we have sepals. These are the sepals. That indicated by a green color. Then the second word, that is related to a petal. Here, these are the petals. So the red color indicate petals. So the number of sepals and petals are 5. After this, the third word, that indicated by the androecium, here we have the second word, that indicated by the androecium or stamens, and these stamens composed of anther and filament. Basically, these stamens are of high in number, and they all are arranged in a spiral form. As you observe, these all are arranged in a spiral form. In this diagram. So the third word, that is related to androecium, and the number of androecium is indefinite. And the last word, that is related to gynoecium. This one and this one. So here it clearly indicates that there are multiple chambers in gynoecium. So it possesses multicarpellary feature. So this is all about the floral diagram. Now here we move towards the floral formula. So I start the floral formula from here. First of all, the morphology of flower is actinomorphic. Then male and female, both flower are present, that indicated by this sign. Then the number of calyx is 5. The number of corolla is 5. Then we have a multiple androeciums, that is indicated by this, and in the end we have gynoecium, that is also a multiple number, and the ovary is superior, that is indicated by this line. Now here we have the second part of this lecture, and in this part we discuss a family, Brassicaceae. So basically the name of this family is derived from a genus, that is also included in this family, that is Brassica. The older name of this family is Cruciferae. It means cross bearing. So it describes the four petals of mustard flowers that indicated in a cross. This Brassicaceae is a medium-sized and economically important family of flowering plants, and it is also informally known as the mustard family. Most of the members of this family are herbaceous in nature, with annual, biennial, and perennial lifespans. This family composed of 338 genera and 3,700 species. It includes many plants of economic importance that have been extensively altered and domesticated by humans. This family include number of agriculture crops, that is radish and white mustard. It also contains some ornamental species, and some members of the family are considered invasive species. In addition to this, a very well-known model plant, that is Arabidopsis thaliana, is also belong to this family. So, in other words, the Brassica species have revolutionized our knowledge in almost every field of modern plant biology. And in addition to this, several representatives of this family are equally playing significant role for achieving the environmental sustainability. Now here I add a tutorial for the illustration of student related to this family. This tutorial helps you to understand the various features of this family. This tutorial elaborates various characteristics related to the floral vegetative part of this family. It's also indicate the distribution, diversity, and the economic importance of this family. So here we have
living organisms, be that animals, plants, or microbes. The plants, being producers, are important because they provide us precious economic goods and ecological services. The different kinds of plants that inhabit our planet Earth have been classified into the taxonomic categories called families. Of these various families, Brassicaceae, which is the topic for today's lecture, is an important family. In this lecture, we will be dealing with the following aspects of the family Brassicaceae. Number 1, taxonomy. Number 2, systematic position. Number 3, phylogeny. 4th, diversity. And the last and 5th, economic importance of the family Brassicaceae. So, starting with this taxonomy. The Brassicaceae is commonly known as mustard family, or sometimes we call it as crucifer family. The term crucifer, it means cross form. This cross form is basically in relation to the cross-shaped corolla that is existing in the flowers of this family. The family Brassicaceae was first of all established as a formal taxonomic category under the name Cruciferae by A.L. de Gisu. later on, this cruciferi name was also retained, but at the same time, Brassicaceae name was given to this family cruciferi. Why? Because it was necessitated due to the rule of ICBN. ICBN stands for International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. The rule is called as typification. But at the same time, the name cruciferi was also retained. In taxonomy, we call this retention of the name as nomen conservandum. Why this was retained? Because the name cruciferi was in wide usage. The family members of this Brassicaceae family, they are distinctive. They show some unique characters which are not existing in other types of plants. These characters are that they are mostly herbs. Very rarely they can be shrubs. They contain a type of phytochemical what we call as glucosinolates, or commonly known as mustard oils. Here the flower have a perianth, that is the non-reproductive part of the flower. The perianth is here cruciate. Cruciate means cross-shaped. And the petals are the individual parts of the corolla. They are here clad. The androecium in this family is tetradynamous, a unique characteristic feature of the family Brassicaceae. Then gynoecium, it has a superior bicarpellary syncarpous ovary. And this ovary shows an axile or parietal placentation. Here, the fruit is unique in this flower in the sense it's called as silicua or silicule. This fruit is basically a two-valved dehiscent fruit with a partition called as rhipium. Now we will discuss its various taxonomic features, morphological features one by one, starting with its habit, how it looks like. The various plants that belong to the family Brassicaceae, they can be either annual, they can be biennial, or can be perennial herbs. But very rarely, some of the members, they are shrubs, as exemplified by a genus called as Forsythia. The perennial herbs in the family, they are often associated with rhizomes, stolons, or runners. The root here, because this family belongs to the dicots, the root system is called as taproot system. The stem is hairy, but it's associated with a watery sap. The hairs, they are diverse in their shape. They can be simple to branched. When they are branched, they can assume the shapes like satellite. Satellite means the star-shaped, or peltate. The leaves in the members of the family Brassicaceae, they are alternatively arranged, but that alternate arrangement is in a spiral fashion. But sometimes, quite often, we see the leaves, they form a basal rosette at underground part. The leaves are without a stipule here, that's why it's exstipulate. The leaves are simple. Very rarely, they can be palmately or pinnately compound. When simple, this leaf blade is often dissected. That means its margins, they are dissected, and the dissection can sometimes take the shape of lobes. Rarely we see margins, they show an entire shape, but usually they are serrate in their margins. The veniation, that is the veins in the leaf surface, they can assume the shape of palmate or pinnate. Now coming to the reproductive part of the flower, starting with inflorescence. The inflorescence can be terminal or it can be axillary, but in both the cases it is raceme. Inflorescence can be rarely composed of a single solitary flower, but most often a characteristic feature of this family is the racemes, they often form a flat-topped corymbs. The flower, individual flower is here pedicellate, that means they are with stalks. They are abracteate, but rarely they can be bracteate, as we have an example of Nasturtium of Schnell where we have the brackets associated with the flower, but mostly they are without brackets. Again, they are abracteolate. Now, the flowers, they are mostly bisexual and usually they are actinomorphic. Very rarely, there can be instances of flowers having a zygomorphic symmetry. The flowers are hypogynous or very rarely perigynous. The flower receptacle, that is the stalk of the flower, it can sometimes prolong and form an elongate or shortened structure called as gynophore. Now, the individual parts of the flower one by one, starting from calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. First of all, the calyx. Calyx here is comprised of 4 sepals. That means the flower is tetramerous. Aposepals, all these sepals, they are free. They are arranged in 2 whorls in a 2+2 arrangement. The outer sepal whorl, that is decussate and is often hairy at its base. The sepals of the lateral pair, they sometimes are succate at base. Succate means they have a pouch-like structure. They can be green or slightly petaloid. Now the corolla is again comprised of 4 petals. It's apopetalous, that means free petals. A characteristic feature, it is cruciform, that means arranged in a cross shape. These petals, they are often with an elongate claw at its base and a spreading limb. Sometimes in some of the species we see these petals are absent, as we see in the case of Corydops. Now the androecium, that is the male part of the flower. Androecium in the case of Brassicaceae, we often see it's comprised of 6 stamens. But rarely we also see in some cases 2 stamens in the case of Corydops, 4 stamens in the case of Codamine, and even 16 stamens in the case of Megacarpia. These stamens, they are apostemonous, they are biseriate, and as already mentioned, they are arranged in a tetradynamous fashion. What this tetradynamous arrangement means, here in this case of Brassicaceae, we have the 2 outer shorter stamens and the inner 4 longer stamens. That's why it is called as 2+4 arrangement. The filaments, they are elongate to short, or sometimes they can be free or fused. The anthers at the top of these stamens, they are base-fixed. They are introse and the dehiscence is longitudinal. The anthers are also tetrasporangiate. The pollen grains in the case of Brassicaceae, they are tricolporate or tricolpate. Again, a characteristic feature of Brassicaceae here is the nectaries. They are often present near the base of the stamens. Now, the female part of the flower, that is gynoecium, is comprised of carpels. These carpels usually are in 2 number, but rarely we see in some cases, but this is a very rare instance, we see 3 carpels or 4 carpels also present. The gynoecium is syncarpous, that means all these carpels, they are fused together. The ovary is here superior, it is unilocular, but a unique thing about this Brassicaceae ovary is that although it is a unilocular, but it seems a bilocular. How? Because there we have a false septum. What this false septum is? It's basically a thin partition which lacks vascular tissue. This false septum, it is surrounded by a thick placental rim called as repulum. In this ovary, the ovules are either 1 or many. The ovules are anatropous or campylotropous. Now, the second part of the gynoecium, that is the style, it is present either singly or sometimes it can be even absent. The stigma at the top of the carpels are in capitate shape, but very often we see it's a bilobed stigma. The placentation here in the case of Brassicaceae, it is axile parietal. What is this type of placentation? Here, each carpel has 2 rows of ovules, and where they are attached to the placenta. The nectaries here are very discrete, or they can be in the form of a ring, which are around stamens or carpels. Now the fruit. Fruit is here either silicua or silicule. What is the difference between silicue and silicule? In the case of silicue, it is longer than broad. But in the case of silicule, it is opposite. It is broader than it is long. In both the cases of silicue or silicule, the 2 halves of the fruit, they separate away from a persistent partition. As already mentioned, it is called as repulum, that is present at the rim of the placenta, and to this rim are attached the seeds. In the case of Raphanus, we see another form of a fruit, what is called as lomentum. Inside the fruit, we have the seeds, but these seeds, they lack endosperm. That's why we call the seeds here as X-albuminous. Occasionally, these seeds are arillate. Inside the seeds, we have the embryo. A characteristic feature of Brassicaceae is these embryos are either curved or folded. Now, something about the pollination system, modes of pollination in Brassicaceae. The flowers of Brassicaceae, they are frequently white in their color, or they can be yellow or pale to deep purple. That's why they are often pollinated by insects like bees, flies, butterflies, moths, beetles, for which the main attraction is the nectar in the flowers. In some tropical species, pollination also occurs by birds or bats. In most cases, the valves of the siliqua, that is, the siliqua is the fruit in the Brassicaceae, it falls away, thus exposing the seeds to the action of either wind or dispersal by rain wash. In some other cases, the small seeds, as we see in cardamine, they are explosively released from the silicues. In Raphanus, that's another genera in the family Brassicaceae, the corky fruits, they break transversely into one-seeded segments, which are then scattered either by wind or by water. Here in the case of Brassicaceae, we also see the seeds, they have adaptations. These adaptations are like wings, bladders, or the seeds can be dusty. All these adaptations, they facilitate dispersal of the seeds by wind. In some cases, we have the fruits, they are fleshy one. That adaptation mainly aids in its dispersal by either mammals or by birds. 15 more families. The presence of phytochemical glucosinolate and also the myrosin cells is considered to be synapomorphic for the order Brassicales. The phylogenetic relationship within the order have been investigated by the cladistic analysis, both by taking into account the morphological characters as well as molecular characters. The family Brassicaceae, it forms a distinct subclade. In addition to the rest of the 15 families, this family Brassicaceae, it forms a distinct subclade based on following characters like tetramerous flower, seeds with curved or folded embryos, lack of endosperm, vessels with vastured pits, and the cisternae of the endoplasmic reticulum, which are vacuolar. Both morphological and molecular data suggest that the subfamily within this family Brassicaceae, that is called as Caparoideae, represented by Caparis, it forms a basal but a paraphyletic complex within the family Brassicaceae. On the other hand, we have two more subfamilies, namely Chilimoideae, represented by Chilium, and the common Brassicoideae, which also form a monophyletic group. The basis for this monophyly is the synapomorphies. Like both these subfamilies, they have a herbaceous habit, and also in their fruit they have a false septum called rhaplum, and more recently on the basis of molecular DNA sequence data. The monophyly of Chilimoideae is supported by they have palmately compound leaves and bilaterally symmetrical flowers. On the other hand, the monophyly of the subfamily Brassicoideae is indicated by the presence of a false septum called rhaplum in their ovary, and also one more character, that is the folded embryos. The Brassicoideae, the most common subfamily within the family Brassicaceae, it differs from the Chilimoideae in it being strongly having reticulate and colpate pollen grains. Most of the Brassicoideae, they have short gynophores and tetradynamous stamens. These tetradynamous stamens have short filaments. The Brassicoideae, which is the common subfamily within the family Brassicaceae, it is predominant in temperate regions. On the other hand, the rest of the two subfamilies, Chilimoideae and Caparoideae, they are common in tropical regions. The genera of Brassicoideae are very difficult to distinguish, and that's why they have been limited into different tribes. This tribal delimitation is mainly based on characters like fruit morphology, calyx astuation, flower color, stigma form, number of seeds per locule, type of embryo folding, and the endowment. Now, the fourth part of the lecture, that is the diversity that is existing in the family Brassicaceae. At present, the family is represented world over by about 350 genera. These 350 genera, they include more than 4,000 species. Some of the species-rich genera in this family are Draba, having a species richness of about 350 species all over the world. This is followed by Erysimum by 180 species. Then Cardamine and Lepidium, two different genera. Each of these genera, they have 170 species each. Then Elysum having 150 species, followed by Sicymbrium having about 90 species throughout the world. Then followed by Arabis, Thalaspi, Rhodipa, Hesperus, and Heliophila, each of these having 70 species each. And lastly, the type genus Brassica having 50 species all over the world. Members of this family Brassicaceae, they show a worldwide distribution. Throughout the world, we see the species belonging to the family Brassicaceae, but they show most diversity in the Mediterranean region. In fact, this Mediterranean region is considered to be the center of diversity for Brassicaceae. In addition to this region, we also see diversity of Brassicaceae in the regions like southwestern and Central Asia, and also in Western North America. Many of these species of Brassicaceae, they are very important in ecology of various biological communities. That is why we see the Brassicaceae species in the early successional communities. Now, the last part, that is economic importance of the family Brassicaceae. The members of the family Brassicaceae, they are of huge economic importance. Reason being, the family contains many important vegetable crops that we consume in our daily lives. Some of these vegetable crops are the edible plants, like I will mention their English name and their botanical names. Cabbage, its scientific botanical name is Brassica oleracea variety capitata. Cauliflower, its scientific name is Brassica oleracea variety botrytis. Then turnip, its scientific name is Brassica rapa. Radish, scientific name Braphinus stevus. Many members of this Brassicaceae, they are also a source of condiment, such as Chinese mustard, namely Brassica juncea, black mustard, scientific name Brassica nigra, white mustard, Synapse alba, horseradish, Aromarica rustanica. In addition to these vegetable crops, this Brassicaceae is important, being the source of seed oil. We know vegetable oil is extracted from the seeds of several species of Brassica, chiefly Brassica napus, our common rapeseed oil. The family contains many species that are commonly used as ornamentals, such as spider flower, its scientific name is Kilium, Dame's violet, Hesperus, wallflower, our common plant that we grow in our parks and gardens, wallflower, its scientific name is Erysimum, or most common one is the candy tuft, scientific name Iberis, or the amazing name like money plant called as Lunaria, sweet lysum called Lubularia, or the rock cress, what we grow in our rockeries, called as Arabis. Many of the species of Brassicaceae, they have also some negative impacts, like they are noxious weeds. We know about garlic mustard, which has invaded many parts in northwestern America. Its scientific name is Alaria. Then Capsula, shepherd's purse. It is a common weed of our agricultural lands, roadsides, and other disturbed sites. Then peppergrass, Lepidium. It's also quite common and noxious weed everywhere in the world. Some of the species of Brassicaceae, they are a source of natural dye. As we know, the case of blue dye, it was extracted from the leaves of Isotis tinctoria. One more important aspect, economic importance, rather scientific importance of Brassicaceae is that it has given us a plant, a model plant by the name of Arabidopsis thaliana. Its English name is mouse ear cress. It is basically a Eurasian weed, but it is most widely used in the plant molecular biology. As we know the case of Drosophila fruit fly, which has been used in the cytogenetic studies, it has given many principles, many insights in the genetics. But in the case of plants, this Arabidopsis thaliana is called as sometimes Drosophila of plant kingdom because of its wide usage in plant molecular biology. So, dear students, with this we come to the end of today's topic, that was taxonomy and diversity of Brassicaceae. Hope you have enjoyed today's lecture.
For your better understanding and illustration, I again add a tutorial that helps you to understand the floral diagram and floral formula of this Brassicaceae family.
Let us draw the floral diagram. This is the main axis, also called as mother axis, on which the inflorescence is present. There are 4 calyx, 2 outer and 2 inner. This type of arrangement is called imbricate. 4 corolla which do not overlap with each other. This arrangement is called valvate estivation. The stamens are present in 2+4 arrangement, that is 2 outer are short stamens and the 4 inner are long stamens. So they show a variation in stamen length in the arrangement of 2 short, 4 long. This condition is also called as tetradynamous condition. The gynoecium is bicarpellary. It has a false septum called rhapellum. The ovules are born on the periphery, that is, they have the parietal placentation. Let us write down the floral formula. Actinomorphic, bisexual, calyx in the arrangement of 2+2. There are 4 corolla. Androecium 2 short plus 4 long. Gynoecium is superior, bicarpellary.
So here we have the references that help me a lot in the preparation of this lecture for your better illustration regarding these 2 families, Ranunculaceae and Brassicaceae. I hope this lecture is very informative for you and you get understanding related to these 2 families. Thank you.